body of work devoted to help folks overcome emotional disconnection and unconscious sexual habits so that they can create deeply connected relationships and fulfilling sex. My work was born from my own experiences with relationship ruptures, conscious uncouplings, and trauma resolution. And my approach is deeply rooted in trauma-informed care, family constellation, embodiment, somatic practices, and tantric wisdom.
Perfect. So first question that I have, this is not a personal question, but I'm going to put it out there in the universe. How important is healthy sexual connection?
Ooh, I have a belief that the way we live, the way we breathe, and the way we have sex is one thing, because it's all based on our own nervous system. So the way we are connected sexually to self and others, it's literally the way we navigate attachment wounds, attachment relations, connections in general with the inner circle and the outer circle, meaning our inner parts and with other people. So in other words, sexual connection is your capacity to connect, period.
I like that answer because I will absolutely agree. I remember a time where I used to say, okay, what's the top 10 things that I want out of a partner? And sex would be in there. And then as I got older, okay, what's the top five? I was like, okay, sex is in there. And then I said, what about the top three? But sex wasn't in there. And I was like, is it because I'm getting old, or has my perspective changed? Does that happen where we go through shifts where it's very important, then it's not as important, but still important enough?
Right. Yeah. I'm curious to know what are the top three.
Want me to answer?
Yes, please.
Okay, you have to laugh at my jokes.
Okay.
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 And the second thing before that is that I want someone that's emotionally aware, which I believe ties into the emotional aspect of the intimacy when it comes to sex.
Emotional aware, sexual aware, same. Okay, so sex is there. And number three?
Sex. Right? No, I'm joking. Sex would be number four. So it would be laugh at my jokes, emotional awareness, and someone that has an idea where they want to be in life, like a certain type of lifestyle that they can maintain, and then we can maintain it together. So those are the top three, and then sex would be number four. But I've
Yeah.
realized, speaking of sexual coaches, that number two and number three ties into intimacy. So I might as well just put sex and intimacy at number two.
Yes. So laugh at my jokes and connection in sex. Great.
I'm a simple man. But do people struggle with that when it comes to identifying what's important to them and where sex stands?
For sure, 100%. There's a societal conditioning that wants to put sex on the other side. So pure, compassionate, innocent, something to do with morally accepted, with everything else is in here. Like, let's say you're at the wedding, you know exactly what's going to happen right after the wedding, assumingly. But look at the speeches, and chances are that it's not appropriate that anybody's going to talk about sex. And yet, we just discussed here that is literally one of the biggest reasons why they were there first place, how they got there to start with, either the desire for it or the action itself. So there is an idea that this is here and this is here, right? And I see this being so big. I don't have social media, but every now and then someone shares what's going on social media with me. And one of those days I saw women saying, oh, it's so sexy when he washes the dishes. Oh my God, he's the sexiest man ever. He said he wants to do the bed. And I'm like, yeah, but then he would be your great brother and you'd look for a sex coach because you aren't having sex.
Ooh, calling someone's partner their brother or sister. How does
There
that
are
go?
so many couples that they got into an amazing arrangement. They're perfect flatmates, but then they are not sexually connected. It's just that the balance, it's always in movement, and we tend to feel safe on things that are static. So what I mean here is when there's no polarity left, sexual attraction is left. And when there's no polarity left, we literally live like siblings, regardless of our genders. I said brother and sister, like very heteronormative, but we basically live as siblings. And again, that's not what you want to stay together. So can you find a way that the polarity is still there? There is some sort of, magnetism, some repelling, but, and, like a magnet. But there is still also a really peaceful way to deal with in-laws and finances and holiday vacations and goals. So the balance between the two is what I call healthy. But if we just want to look forward to have that perfect homey relationship, you might be compromising sex for that.
Okay, I think I follow. So it's like if I'm in a relationship, in a heterosexual relationship with a woman, there may be a point where we're not in a relationship that is like a partner, like a romantic relationship. It's that it's more so of like a family because of the dynamic of the household. Is that correct?
Because the polarizing, it's not there anymore. So when there's nothing polarized, what happens is you are so in harmony that you are just really going to sleep next to each other, literally, but you are not having the sexual. And then you see on the beginning that you may have a lot of disagreements and a lot of conflicts, and you're like always, fight, make up, and that brings a lot of sex to the table. And the way that I would call in the balance is when you find the relationship of connecting and learning how to repair and learning how to to live with the differences, and those differences are yet causing a polarization, because you need to have some sort of magnetic, like repel and attract kind of thing, because in a way of seeing energetically, the receptive side of the male body is up and the giving is down, and it's the opposite for the female body from the male body, right? So one is giving up and the other one is receiving up, and the other one is giving down, the other one is receiving down. And even if you are same gender, there is still inside of you masculine and feminine, and there's that interplay of your energetical that you're leading with your feminine or you're leading with your masculine, and you're still doing this polarization. Now when you became besties, that's over. So you can have no arguments, but you're probably also not having sex.
How does the couple then identify that is happening in the relationship?
When they are not having sex anymore, is that what you mean?
Well, I know it's that easy for us, right? But I'll give you an example. I used to know someone where in the beginning they had lots of sex. And by
Yeah.
lots of sex, they probably had 2, 3 times a week. Um, and then once they had a child, and then they had the child, then they got married. As they got married, the sex was less to the point where, and I quote her, she actually shared this. She's like, okay, just take it. And she would just assume the position. Whatever position that was, I stopped there because it was getting a little bit too detailed for my wild imagination. And I don't like her like that. So when she shared that information, I was like, okay, thank you for sharing, but have you went to talk to someone?
Mhm.
And for her, she's like, well, that's normal because when I talk to my friends, where
Yeah.
they're having it even less. So that's when I say, like, how do you identify? Because she no longer, or the couple no longer remembers how it was because it's been this way so long, and their friends are in a similar situation.
This is literally the normal story. I don't think we are saying anything new to the audience here. Everyone knows that it started with a lot of sex, and then it goes with no sex, and then the arrangements goes until someone can't take it anymore and they end up erupting, right? Like they end up going apart. This is literally the usual. So I I would be like so obvious on the, are you still attracted to each other? When you start finding excuses that are more attracting, more appealing than having sex. Like, for example, it's a lot better to go to sleep early, or it's a lot nicer to stay up late so that when we come back home, we're so exhausted, we don't have a risk of having sex. Whereas before, you define the excuse that you can't even wait to reach home and you do at the restaurant's toilet. So it's like that is for me the sign. And then a lot of people will bring it to justify that it's like, oh, well, but it wasn't important to us anymore. We aged. And that's the biggest myth out there, because there's nothing to prove biologically, physiologically, that we don't want sex when we age. Even the very concept that our ovaries age, it's been debunked biologically. So nothing of it is real. Because it has happened to many people, it became a belief, but the belief is a thought we no longer question. So it's a thought that you start to believe as a status quo, but was that ever true? Because what I know is that for those who dare to be curious and to question this belief, they are having their best sex yet after more than 30 years together, or with new partners, but while they're on their 50s, 60s, and so forth.
I like that because I think, and I haven't tallied this. I should have wrote this down actually. How much sex I was having in my 20s, 30s, and now I'm at the age of 40. I think I'm having better and more healthier sex now than I did in previous years. And I say that because I know what I want. I think I'm able to be more tuned with my partner's body and what she would desire. I do recall, though, there was someone that I used to date years ago that her issue when she was being intimate or having sex was that she had a body issue. I wonder then, for those who, to your point, who say that, well, I'm getting older, is it that their body is aging in a way they don't want it to, or is it just perception? They're seeing themselves as this wrinkled 90-year-old man or woman when in reality they're not.
We close the circle here. The first question was about sex and connection. And now we are back at this because that's literally it. The relationship you have with yourself, the relationship you have with your body is the same that will reflect on your sex. So if you are in love with yourself, if you are in this flirtatious, accepting, loving self, this is literally what is going to come from this inner experience. It's what you're going to bring out. So if you start having issues with your own aging, or with the new phase in your life, with what is happening in this, if you didn't have a rite of passage, if you didn't transit from where you were before to where you are now, this is obviously going to start affecting sex, because sex is so primal. It's really that, or it can be in its purest and wildest form. It's so much on your sympathetic and parasympathetic, really depth of your living as a nervous system being. And if you're doing this from your brain, that is not sexy, because you don't have sex from your brain. Your brain and your body together is what's going to give you the best sexual experience. And if your brain is saying, body, I don't like how you look now, and all I can do is to be here inside this inner war, trying to control you, put you down, say you should be this or you shouldn't be that, and have all these unfulfilled expectations, how is sex going to be relaxed? And there is no better sex, in my humble opinion, than relaxed sex. And that is, again, a phase that we transit, because when we got together, let's say that the couple in the beginning of the relationships, they were like spring. It's all beautiful and blooming and flowers coming, and it's all that flirtatious, perky, right? It's starting getting warmer and warmer. So if you're living this in your relationship, how is sex there? Chances are that sex is exactly in the same energy, right? Spring energy sort of sexual experiences. And then when you get, let's say, to your highest accomplishment as a couple, either it was your goal to build a house together or get to your wedding, or have that commitment level, whatever it was that was your peak. The peak in nature, summer, means what? It means that from here onwards, everything is going to wane. After the full moon, it wanes. After the summer, the leaves start falling because autumn is coming. After this coming, it's going to come the crops, and then suddenly it's going to be winter again. So summer carries that seed of death. So when you reach the highest accomplishment, if there is no transition there in this relationship, sexual or not, relationship period, and if you keep on looping on this unfulfilled spring, summer, anybody here has ever learned about farming and soil, you know what's going to happen next. Your soil will be barren and it's never going to grow anything. And whatever you are sowing, it's never going to be a harvest because you never allowed yourself to start waning towards death, towards winter. And that's cyclical, and every relationship is going to go through it. So when we see people going through, this is a 7 years crisis or whatever it is, it's because when you met each other, you were still on that first 3 years, give it or take it, on this, I am in love with who I expect you to be. Oh, and I'm in love with who I expect you to be. And then after 3 years-ish, you're like, oh, you're actually not what I thought you are, and vice versa. And now you're watching you transiting. Let's say you got out of spring, and now it's the time to actually spend the next 3 years or so witnessing each other in their transition and get the patterns and understand who they actually are. What can I actually sow in this soil? What's the weather like here through the seasons? Because now we've been through a few seasons together. Now that we actually getting the full bloom together, can we make towards autumn and winter, find repair, recycle, come back to a new spring together? If you're going to be expecting that sex in those seasons of your life will look like before, you're going to be forcing yourself to get boobs job. You're going to be forcing yourself to go through embarrassing senior public relationships. You will be perhaps having cheating in between if you're monogamous, a lot of adaptations and coping mechanisms, because you didn't transit to where you're going at as a couple and found what is the new way to have sex in this new season. What is the new way to be attractive in this new body? What is the new way to find our sexual polarity, our attraction between us, now that the house is populated with a few more beings, or that we are paying mortgage, or that we have an older parent living with us? If you're trying to put everything on what you signed up for, quote unquote, and you think that that's the only way, then sex is expired and the way it worked before doesn't work now. And either you keep on trying to force each other to not grow anymore, or one of you will give up on that and actually grow, and the other one will be left behind somewhere with coping mechanisms. That's where everything go havoc, right? From here. It's when we just don't have those rite of passages in our sexual life, in our connection to our bodies, and in our connections to ourselves, and in our relationship.
What do you think is then the obstacle that people are facing when it comes to not putting so much emphasis on their body when it comes to the sexual experience?
Well, I really believe that there's a lack of connection within, because if we are so bombarded with the conditioning of programming of what society is telling us, society is stuck on a version of beauty that has to do with spring. Every woman has to look like her maiden. Every man has to look like his younger self. So if now you are going towards something different than that Instagrammable picture, if you're going through something different than what the other TikTokers that are successful couples are showing, if you're living through something raw, if you're living through something that it's not being represented, you may think that you are the only one. And you may think that isolation, that your tribal being is, that your nervous system is still based on that wiring of being tribal. You're still thinking that you are at risk, that you are severed, that you're not good enough, that you shouldn't tell others or show anyone what's going on, because definitely what's going on in your home is different from everyone else's. but it isn't. It's just that's not what everyone else is showing out there, because it's not what's selling, because it's not what people are consuming, because it's not what they're expecting. So there's a whole societal change that is happening, one couple at a time, one person at a time, when we go back to really own our role. And I guess one of the things I was saying before, when you reach the full summer, there is a seed of death. What I mean here is there is a grief for what isn't. And when we are not in societies that grieve anymore, and rites of passages are no longer relevant to many of us, we have lost how to transit towards a better sex. And one thing that I personally connect to is re-indigenization, going back to the First Nations people traditions, going back to grief rituals, going back to rites of passages and adapting them to modern life and applying those ritual ways, whatever it is for you. You have your Thanksgiving ritual, right? You have your Christmas ritual. Bring a ritual to your relationship that has some, it's not something religious. It's just like bring the ritual of what it was before. Now it's saggy. Yay, let's celebrate that. Now that's a bigger belly. Yay, let's celebrate that. Let's find within this the new attraction, the new beauty, the new enhancements without trying to do or be something that no longer is, grieve what no longer is, and celebrate what is.
I call the bigger bellies the love pouch. The bigger the stomach, the more love they got in there, right? Because it's from experience, right?
Yeah.
Because that's some, to your point. We need to celebrate the changes, right? Because we don't
Yeah.
want to be shamed. Because I think, to your point, that's what society does, right? But we don't celebrate, we tend to shame. There's like, okay, but there's a whole middle area. Why can't we just appreciate it? And you mentioned something where it's like the connection from ourselves, right? So for the women, big butt, big ass, big tits, and like a virgin, right? Shout out to Madonna. The men, the 3 6s, right? 6 feet, 6 inches, and six figures. But there's so many people who don't meet those society standards, but they still deserve love. They still deserve intimacy. What role do you think maybe shame and guilt plays in someone approaching sex, let's say with a new partner, and they're still a little subconscious about these standards from society?
I'll give examples from things that I see among my clients and audience, right? There is a older man who is now cheating on his same age wife with a younger girl. What does he want? He wants to feel young. So he's seen someone young in front of him. What he wants a woman who doesn't know herself well, so that he doesn't need to grow. There is a woman who is flirting with other men because her man, it's now growing a belly and getting slower. And why is that? Because she's expecting him to look like the way he would look like when they first fell in love, because she didn't learn how to fall in love with who he is through the dancing of transitions, through the new versions of himself. Because the truth is, when you are walking in a monogamous long-term relationship, you are going through cycles. So you'll be falling in love over and over again with very different people because you are not the same. Both of you are continuously changing. So what I see is people are attracted to something that they once met, and they keep on expecting that from the other person. Oh my God, he changed so much. Oh, I don't even know who she is anymore. Oh, they are so different now. I can't even. So that is what I'm addressing here, but I'm not quite sure if I went on the point that you asked.
No, that's perfect because it reminds me of when I've seen the old couple who still hold hands in the park and still kiss each other, and they're in their 60s and 70s. I will absolutely agree that I think sometimes we get stuck on the 20, 30-year-old version of our partner, but we don't grow our connection to them. It's like we look at them, we see them as they were in their 20s, but it's not that, at least for me, when I age with my partner, I still have that same attraction that I had when we first met. It's grown to be more than just her physical. It's her physical, it's her emotional, it's her energy. There's times where you're not with them and they're on your mind because you're building that intimacy when you're apart until you guys can get connected. How important is intimacy and sex?
Right. I'm going to touch onto something here. We cannot go deep with others if we don't go deep with ourselves. So intimacy with others can only be as deep as intimacy with self. So let's say you lived 60 years of the same year. You spend the same Christmas in the same place, the holidays on the same place. You spend every evening in front of a TV, and you spend every morning at your work, and you just live the same life over and over again, right? You never really stopped and went inwards, did meditation or did some sort of healing modality or any work on yourself, on connecting to self, on intimacy, right? But let's say that your partner did, because your partner was feeling their feelings. Now reach a point that you know your inner landscape so well because you've been living and peeling the onions and really going deeper with self and learning tools, and your partner didn't. How can you connect in intimacy with someone who is not in the same depth of intimacy with themselves? That wouldn't be possible. Sex becomes a different thing for these two people. For the person who didn't do the work and goes inwards, the person who doesn't feel their feelings, the only way they connect is physically. So they need more of the sex to feel connected. When they don't have sex, they don't feel worthy. When they don't have sex, they don't feel connected. When they don't have sex, they don't feel that they belong. The other person may have the physical connection with them, but not feel connected because now they have a deeper connection to their own inner work. So they have different ways to show up in sex. They have different ways. Again, as I said, your emotions, your sex, your breath, everything is one thing. So now let's say one of them is having grief orgasms, fear orgasms, joy orgasms. And if the audience doesn't know what I'm talking about, it's literally when you embody and express the fullness of those emotions through this moment where your brain waves changed, which is when you're having your orgasm. So during your orgasm, you may have different frequency in your brain. You are in a different state of consciousness and you are embodying your emotions on that level. Meanwhile, the other person that is not connecting to their feelings may still be having sex the same way they had before, on the same shallow level that they know themselves. That is basically, I raise a little bit my sexual energy and I discharge it right away because I don't have capacity to hold it for longer. So raise it a bit, discharge, raise it a bit, discharge. Whereas the other person may have learned to raise and bring it up to the heart, up to the center of their head, up to bring a journey of emotions, of altered states of consciousness, of energy, or whatever else you want to name it, but you brought this to a deeper level of beingness, multisensorial, soul level. I don't know what's your vocabulary, your dictionary out there, your audience, but you bring this to the words that make sense to you. Is that spiritual? Is that soul level? Is that psychological? Is that depth? Use the name you want, but basically what I'm talking about is it didn't stay only on your genitals. It is totally connected to all that you are on your heart level, on your brain level. Whereas the other person is like, I got aroused, I got my genitals ready to discharge it so that I can collapse because I could do it through a beer, I could do this through sex. Either way, I'm gonna be put to sleep.
I want to laugh because the last part, and I hate my mind, but it just goes there. It's just like it's that person that wham bam, thank you, man. Get in, get off, get out. Because there's no other connection. It's just two people doing what they have to do.
masturbating inside each other.
There you go. There you go. So how for the partner for the partner who is in that situation where their boyfriend, their girlfriend, their husband, their wife, whomever is only giving them surface and shallow intimacy and sex, what can they do?
Now you're gonna make me become the most hated person on your on your podcast.
That
But
was
here,
my goal. I just didn't tell you before we started.
guys, you may want to shoot the messenger. Okay, it's up to you. And if you hate me, keep on listening to his podcast. But here's the truth: if you heard me speaking on the last 5 minutes and you are all the time, yeah, that's me. Oh yes, that's me. Oh yes, that's me. And you're like, now what do I do? And you're expecting me that I'm gonna give a great formula for you to transform them. I have to tell you something. Nobody will be happy with someone that you want to change. If your partner is not the person who you admire the most in the world, there's so far you can go. True love is about being with the person who you admire the most. And I'm not talking about marrying Dalai Lama. You know what I mean here. So the other person can and have the right to be loved and admired the way they are. And if you have raised your standards and that person was who you loved and admired the most 10, 15 years ago, but not anymore. And I'm not talking about that one Saturday that you're angry or that one summer that you're depressed. I'm talking about you've been through this a little bit. You have tried a few things and you know their standards is not what you admire the most. Give them the opportunity to be loved and admired by who they are, rather than depleting your energy, trying to make them become something else, or even worse, depleting your energy, stopping, hindering your own growth so that you don't lose them. I would invite, if you're in the situation, to look at what conditioned you that the relationship has to last forever in order to be successful, because it doesn't. Who has informed you that you have to be with each other forever, ever after, even if you're not Cinderella or Snow White? I just want to say a relationship serves its purpose as long as you are in a partnership where you both grow together in love, in respect, in compassion, in this safe bubble that you grew up, either in a mono or in a poly relationship. If you have followed your truth and done your growth and your partner has a slower pace, you don't have to compromise your hiking in a resentfulness that you're never going to reach the peak before sunset because they are too slow. And you don't have to carry them up in your shoulders so that you see the sunset. You might as well realize that this is no longer your hiking partner. And that's okay. And it was successful for the first 1,000 meters you did together. And all is well if you do this with grace, with love. And that's literally what I work with, is with uncoupling, is to really reach the moment of honor that you give each other's the loving, compassionate attitude of let each other live with someone that admires them for who they are. And it may not be each other anymore, and that's okay.
But Iman, breaking up over sex, it's so selfish, it's so immature.
Oh my God, are we talking about sex here? I'm saying this is so much more than sex, right? This is really the level of self-connection, of intimacy, is the connection, is that emotional level, is that depth in the relationship. Because I'll give here an example of my last uncoupling, right? I was sitting with their mother, and their mother and their father, they were together for 40 plus years, and they still used to be flirting and like, doing the whole teenager kissing each other in the dark while we were all having family gatherings. So they now had like teenager grandchildren, and they're still thinking that we're not seen when they're like hiding behind the furniture for some making out, right? So I'm like so inspired by their parents and their love. And now I'm sitting next to my partner, and their mom is sharing with us, oh, do you know, I love my husband so much because he's a one beer guy. He sits with all his friends and all he drinks is one beer. He never gets intoxicated. I can really rely on him. And that's what makes him my perfect guy. He's a one beer guy. So we brought the one beer thing to our road trip back home. And on the road trip back home, he's like, can't I be admired for being a one beer guy? And I said, this is a perfect point because my point of admiration is a guy who does not need to intoxicate himself, period. And you are one beer guy, so you deserve to be with a woman who, just like your mom, loves you for being the one beer guy. And that's not
Is
me.
that difficult? Sober sex versus sex with a beer or something else?
I'm using beer because I don't want to share the substances that may not be illicit.
Fair, no, that's actually wise. And the reason why I asked you, Iman, is because someone gave me the example a couple of weeks ago where it seems like society promotes intimacy and sex where there is alcohol involved. And she coined the phrase, "What about sober sex?" Where it's just clear mind, clear body, right?
The way we breathe, the way we live, the way we have sex. What about sober life? I literally here talking about people who would say, oh, I need to be drunk to sing this song. Oh, I need to be drunk to dance this in front of these people. Oh, I need to be drunk to give this speech. Oh, I need to be drunk to wear this lingerie. I need to be under influence to allow myself to be primal in the bedroom. Oh, I need to be under influence so that I can be moan this loudly. And if the whole point of sex is to connect to yourself so that you transcend in the experience, does it make sense to you to be under influence that is literally influencing that connection? In my point of view, you are now having a threesome. It's you and the substance and the other person, because that substance in itself has consciousness and in itself is affecting you, it's altering your state, even if it's cacao or coffee. If you're okay with threesoming through, just be aware that that's what you're doing, but don't think that this is the purest form of your depth. So both of you are consenting adults and you think that was a great idea, go for it. But really sit with yourself if that was something that you convince yourself, if that's something that can be there every time because you need this to do that, or if it's something that you chose to because, a threesome sometimes is nice. So it's me, you, and coffee. And that's okay because you probably do you, coffee, and work, and you, coffee, and hanging out with your friends. And if that's your thing, right? But just be aware. The point here is not changing what you do, is bringing awareness and presence to that.
And then ask yourself, why do you need it to be intimate with someone that you're saying that you love?
Right? I mean, that's what would come to me.
That's
Like,
what will come to me as well, too.
yeah. So the way how we connect sexually is, it's the way we connect to ourselves. And that's not only sexually, it's in any way. The way we connect to ourselves is the way we connect to the other. I don't know if anybody here has heard Vipassana. I always use this example. I've done Vipassana a few times, and then there's a moment where we learn in one of the lectures, we don't love anybody, we only love ourselves. And I love that quote because it's so true. Any relationship you have in outside of yourself is a projection of a relationship you have inside between your inner parts. The relationship you have with your mother is a relationship that your inner child have with the inner parent, with the inner mother. The relationship you have with your spouse is the relationship you have with your part. So what does your spouse represent at that moment? At that moment, let's say your husband represents the one who messed up the kitchen. The relationship you have is with the one who messed up the things you just fixed. The moment that he paid the bills, what's the relationship you have with the provider? Probably started away before you met your husband. What's the relationship you have with the one who gives you sexual pleasure? Well, if you think that the sexual pleasure came from outside of you, you are now depending on that person for your pleasure. So now this person is carrying a massive responsibility on their shoulders because they are responsible for your pleasure. But actually, the pleasure was yours all along. All the neurotransmitters, all the hormones, all the pleasure receptors, everything for your experience was within you already. They were but catalysts. So if the other is a catalyst and you can create all this pleasure pharmacy within you, isn't it valuable to learn those stimulus? Let's say you're learning an engine, right? Learn where is the brake, learn where is the accelerator, learning how to regulate it, up regulate or down regulate to the peak or valley expression of it that you want to have. And isn't it so much nicer when the other person having this moment with you does not carry the responsibility to know all those things because you are so well versed on the language and manual guide of your own engine that you can tell them from this place of I know, and I want you to know because I want you to join the freaking best engine ever. Ride my Ferrari with me. That
I
place.
like that example, right? Because the brake, when to slow down, when to understand what's going on, in the accelerator, okay, let's maybe pick this up. Let's try something different because we both are enjoying this and we want more of it. Use the word uncoupling. What does uncoupling mean?
Uncoupling is a softer, gentler way than a breakup. So let's put the difference here. A breakup is a sudden rupture. You know, you are with your loving uncle today, and tonight he had a heart attack. Gone. You were in your beautiful home, and then came Hurricane Katrina, and boom, boom, the house is gone. You know, there's something that was like suddenly there was a rupture and it's gone versus something that you can titrate, something that you can slowly grieve, slowly let go. Let's say your loved one is with a terminal disease and you have this time to say goodbye, or they're dying of aging, or let's say you know you're going to leave your job, so you start waning off because you know that in a couple of months you're going to retire and you're going to be out of this job. And that experience of a sudden rupture leaves a ripple effect that affects everything else in your life and is rather traumatic depending on how resourced you were, because chances are that when the breakup happened, you could not pause. Hello, everyone in the world, stop, because now I'm going to go through a breakup. Boss, don't ask me for anything. I'm going through a breakup here. Hey, continue paying my salary because finances cannot be a problem right now. I have enough on my plate. Chances are that's not the case. Chances are life continue happening, and now you have to deal with this breakup while you're juggling everything else's. But why? If you can do this with this honor and respect, either with self or with each other, even better if you're in an agreeable, respectful, honorable position that you can together start walking each other home towards your new ways apart from each other, so that once you are on your next step, be it with someone else's or not, you are in self-trust, in emotional connection, in great sexual place, because there wasn't anything traumatic. It was a transition. It was a rite of passage. And that's possible to do even if your partner is not willing to do it friendly. And that's not the same as a friendly separation. It's a little more conscious and aware than that, because it has a lot to do with really working on the ripples and side effects of no longer being that person for this other one and becoming this new version of yourself, co-creating this new version.
When a couple uncouples for the reasons you gave, right? Let's say it's because they realize that they're not compatible sexually anymore. One's giving shallow, one wants a little bit more, and they uncouple.
Mhm.
Does What role then do you think maybe loneliness plays with someone making that decision and trying to get another relationship, because there's going to be a period of time where they're going to be alone, where they may feel loneliness?
Yeah. And it's a perfect opportunity to really sit with What's the power that you're giving away to the other? Why is that someone has to fulfill that for you? Because if someone else has to be fulfilling that for you, then there will be no relationship in your life that's ever going to work. You created a field, and now anyone that you put in the field is going to play the same role, because the field is already. And the more you know this field, the more you can guide the new person who is going to join in, right? So, for example, one of the practices that I bring is I will trigger the person in a safe place, in a very titrated, gentle way, through witnessing different emotions and noticing yourself how you feel when you notice those emotions. So what I see in this practice is for male people, male bodies, usually when they witness a woman crying helplessly, they step in as a hero, because they were taught that this is their young sister they have to protect, that this is their job. Now they're going through a relationship and their female partner is crying for whatever the reason. And they are carrying in their bodies the responsibility. So they're depleted, they are confused, they're having their mind all over the place, they're not sleeping well. They might not even be aware of it. They might even think that's because their favorite team is losing the championship, whatever reason. But they're actually carrying this that they can't help. Maybe she's going through cancer. I don't know, right? So one of the things to take the power back, and one of the things on this coupling process, for example, is to be aware of it. You don't necessarily have to change. Awareness does its job. So once you're aware that that's how you feel that you have to be a hero, then notice the field that you created. Because if there is a field where there is a hero, you must have a victim, because who are you going to protect? And if there is a victim, you must have a perpetrator, because that must be something that is causing that on the victim. So you disempowered your partner because you disempowered yourself, because you are conditioned to react this way when you felt someone sad. But you never knew about this because you never did it consciously. So now you got into the next 5 relationships without doing a conscious uncoupling, without sitting with this. And every single time you're affected by the same thing, and every single time you create a big drama in your relationship, but every time it's her fault. You created a victim when you became a hero. But now all of a sudden is the other 2 people involved, right? Maybe the perpetrator is the financial situation, or the passport they carry, or the immigration issues. And maybe the victim is your spouse or your kids. But either way, you're in the drama and they are the problem.
Because you're always looking for someone to save, and now you're in this continuous loop of drama.
Yeah. And simply why? Because you're not aware that that's your default mechanism when you're faced with sadness. And that's just one example. We go through many more. Maybe you deal with sadness very well, but every time someone is angry, you become defensive, because now you're the victim of the angry one. Because one day you were very scared of your mother when she was angry. I don't know. I'm just giving examples here from what I see. But the whole point is, if you don't have that self-awareness of how this dynamic works, you're going to repeat the same pattern of dynamics with everyone else's. And then no wonder sex was never great, unless you're under influence and you dissociate from all that.
Because sometimes people can use sex as the way to save someone.
Oh, of course. Yeah. As I said, we can process things like fear or anger or sadness through orgasms, right? So now imagine that your partner has been doing this work and she's familiar with channeling her sadness through her orgasm. And she's going through this deep grief crying while you're just ejaculated. And you're like, oh my God, what did I do wrong? Oh, I cannot have sex with her because I feel so sad when we finish. Oh, this is so terrible. Oh, I cannot. This is literally breaking the mood. I have to make her smile so that I feel that I was good enough. If you're not aware of you, the other person cannot be them. And if they cannot be the primal self, this person didn't force themselves into crying. They allowed themselves into crying because they were safe enough. But now, if you can't hold this space because you cannot accept your own crying, your own sadness to that depth, to that embodiment, to that level, you are not enjoying sex. You are not connecting. And now you are no longer a safe place for them. So now they have to perform a sex in a way that they don't fully relax into themselves because they don't want to make you feel that way. And now you brought drama to the bedroom.
Because one person is relaxed in the crying and the emotional e- experience,
Yes.
and the other person is shocked by it because it's triggering something from their childhood, for example, where they had to save the sister in your example.
Yes.
How important
That's
then is communication?
yeah, but you can't communicate something that you don't understand. Like at that point, even if they have wonderful levels of communication, they really don't have words for it. They have no, with the excuse of my language, no fucking clue what's happening. They don't know. How can they talk about it? Oh, sorry, I put my computer to charge. Yeah, they don't
No,
know.
that's an
Yeah.
interesting point, right? Like if they want to communicate it, they don't know about it,
Mm.
so they're just staring at the ceiling, like what the hell is going on?
That's what we are talking about. Again, we are in another closing circle. When I said one person is aware of the landscape of their debt and the other one isn't, and now you say, oh, you're divorcing because of your sex? Well, it's deeper than that. It's really because one has really explored this wild land of self, and the other one was drinking beer and watching TV most of the time instead. And nothing against the beer and sport, guys. This is a very cliche example. Okay. Don't think that I'm the one who hates the beer. It's all an example.
Well, I like sports and I hate the beer, so I'm going to be on that side of the people that don't like that. Right? No, but it's like it's another distraction. It's to your point, right? The old cliche with the man in his underwear with a hole in it watching sports and he has beer and Cheetos on his shirt, right? Like that's the old cliche who's so unaware of his surroundings that his when he actually is intimate, he doesn't even know what his wife wants because it's a Tuesday afternoon and it's the same thing over and over again.
Yeah. And beyond that, if you're not aware of your cycles, you can't support anyone else through their cycles. So, for example, on this example, his life is the same cycle as per the work. I'm in vacation from work or I'm at work. So I go home and I chill, or I go on a holiday and I chill. But the other people around are having different cycles, right? Let's say they're connected to the land. They're living winter, they're living spring, they're living summer, or they're living perimenopause, or they're living the grief of kids leaving the house, or they are living young kids demanding attention all day, or they are living a disease, I don't know, endometriosis or something. And this person is not connected to that. They are in very different nervous system experiences of the very same evening. And one will not understand how is the other seeing this that way. I don't understand how can you just sit on the sofa and enjoy like nothing is happening. And the other one is like, I don't understand how can you just be sitting there and enjoying yourself meditating, for example. And another thing is when it comes to the sexuality, it'll be the same. One point here, the young woman who is taking care of the kids, is a housewife all the time, or she's a teacher, or she's something that she's always in connection to body, she's having her sensations, her sensorial life enhanced. No, they're doing crafts, they're doing painting, they're running on the grass, playing in the park. She's having the body connection. She's having lots of hugging and cuddling and laughing together and eye contact. And the other person may have spent the whole day in uncomfortable outfits, just looking at screen and having to performance a certain persona in order to maintain that responsibility of providing. Again, I'm being very heteronormative here. Now imagine how those two have completely different needs in sex, which is very much in their nervous system. One person doesn't really need it for the touch and sense because they kind of had it already. They were with kids a whole day. The other one needs it so badly in order to connect. How can you navigate this when you are not aware of your inner landscape and you cannot communicate your needs because you don't know what they are? So all you can do is to project that frustration and that lack of self-awareness onto each other. Oh, it's because he doesn't do this, because she doesn't do this, it's because he's this or she's that. And now, next thing you know, the fact that he didn't fix the leak in the rooftop or the fact that she gained 10 pounds made the whole reason and story, and it was never about it first place. But they were just now aware because they have not even sat with anything deeper than fulfilling the roles, put the kids to sleep, watching the sport, play on their phone, and oh, please don't forget to check and subscribe on the latest channel and forget anything outside of entertainment, you know?
Don't forget to watch your Netflix and your Disney Plus.
Yes, please. That's necessary for a better world.
Not that we have anything against Netflix and Disney Plus. I have it in my house, right? So I get it. You know, it's Netflix and chill, the real one, not the one that these youngsters use. So, what are some of the tools then you share with couples to help them become aware of these things that's happening in their relationships?
Here's the thing: sex happens in the body. If you are not having health in your body, it is affecting sex. The amount of nutrients you have, the amount of supplements, the amount of physical activity, the amount of sunlight, the way you're connecting to your body and health is absolutely affecting your sex, period. The way how you're aware of your breath, if you spend most of the day having upper diaphragm breath, like upper chest breath only, you don't ever get a relaxed breath. You don't ever take the weight down from your shoulders. You're hovering over your body, living on your head the whole day. That's absolutely going to affect your sex, right? If you're not grounded, you don't know the weight of your body, of your feet, or if you have literally not sat on the grass or done earthing or something, you're full of inflammations in your body, that's going to affect your sex. That's one like basic given. I don't need to be a sex coach to tell you this. I'm sure you know that already by your own experience. But what I can say that maybe you do not know is think of everything you invest in your life because you knew that you know, but you need some support. You have support for someone to clean your house. You have support for someone to fix your car. You have support for someone to be your assistant at work. You have support for someone to install the latest whatever in your house. You had an engineer, you had an architect, and then if you go to the gym, you have a personal trainer. If you're going for yoga, even though you have done those asanas many times, you have someone who gives you the yoga class for accountability. You know the movements already. You have done this warrior 2,000 times, but you need someone to correct you every time because you're not seeing yourself, how you're not doing the position right. The same thing with your sex. How the heck do you think you're going to go your whole life and just know it just because you know that this thing goes inside these things and feel, nice for 3 seconds? If something inside of you knows that there is more to it, if something inside of you knows that even though you know, it's great to have that outside perspective. If you know that you've been doing this for the last 15 years and you can do this as a common goal project, like you guys took that art class together or that, recipes, culinary, chef kind of thing, you had that extra thing you did together. Well, instead of creating candle vaccines, you can do like some tantric sex course together, something that you invest, because just because you invested on it, it already got better because you sent your attention and energy to it. So if your sexual life matters to you, watch channels about it, read books about it, Hire someone to support you. Go to that holiday in that tantric place and do that tantric course. Sign up for a retreat with it. Hang out with three other couples that you can talk about it. Find out from people who are thriving sexually what is that they did. Don't just sit there doing the same thing and expect that that's going to be great until your 60s, because chances are it won't.
And please, people, have sex longer than 3 seconds. Please. Like this is if you haven't learned anything during this whole interview, please. Right. And then including foreplay, okay? Don't try to beat around the bush and say that, well, Terrain, I touched her on her shoulder for 3 seconds and it was over. It's like, no.
I will tell you something. In my realm, sex for more than 12 hours is common.
Sorry, how many hours? Say that one more time.
I have had sex for 46 hours nonstop with one person.
Just so I understand, but sometimes my hearing isn't that well, Eman, okay? So when you say I, are you referring to you or you say people? You, okay.
Me.
So
Yeah, that's not unheard of in my world. And in the world of people who do the things that I do, this is common. A sex ritual that takes 6 hours is a quickie because you have to adapt to the week schedule.
hmm. And for the people out there who are saying that 6 hours is a quickie because 6 hours to them is an eternity. How do we achieve such mastery?
So I was talking about before, right? If you thinking that there is something more, invest on it as you would if you want to educate yourself about your finances, or you want to educate yourself about personal training, or you want a yoga instructor, right? Get a sex coach. That's what we're here for. People think that we are here for the ones who have a problem. Oh, I have a premature ejaculation. Oh, I have lack of libido, and this is why you need a sex coach. No, we're not here to fix people. Yoga instructors are not there for the ones who can't do yoga. you know it's just another perspective of support. It's like it's literally that accountability and that know-how that shortcuts and gives you motivation and that literally give you a goal. Like I work with couples that they are doing really great sexually, but they want more.
Is there still some shame when it comes to approaching sex coaches to have that type of conversation?
Oh my God, I have had clients that literally ask me to enter through the service elevator just in case the receptionist knows that I'm there.
But you don't walk with a sex coach sign on your forehead, do you? Like, how would they identify you as a sex coach?
It's in their head, not in mine.
That's the biggest problem, right? Is because they know why you're there and they think everyone else can either smell it or see it or
Yeah.
whatever the case is, right? Like how difficult is it for them people to take that first step because they still have it in their mind, a little bit of shame.
Had a client that introduced me to their mothers as a friend, and I'm like, okay, let's go with that. Like, God forbid my mom knows I have a sex coach. It's still there.
That's how we're made, right? But they don't want to think about that.
Yeah. It's still there. Yeah, for sure. And that's exactly what makes it harder because what hurts is not knowing about it. Like, for example, the whole movement we had a few years ago that people who were victims of sexual assaults, they actually could come up and meet you because finally it is in the light. And even if nothing was done about it, they felt better just because it was no longer secret. That's the same thing for your sex. If your best friends know everything about your latest cookie recipes, but they know nothing that you never had an orgasm for the last 14 years with your husband, there's something wrong about that, in my perspective. And that was like my one of my first clients. Like they came to me and they're like, we've been married for 14 years and I've never had an orgasm. And I'm like, do any of your friends or your husband know about it? No, I am 14 years professional in faking it.
I once asked, I mostly work with women when I coach them, and I asked a group of women one time that are they sexually active? They all said yes. And at the time, they were in their mid 40s. So they were like about maybe 10 years older than me at that time. And I was like, and I asked each one of them, are your parents together? They said yes. So I was like, so your parents are having sex? They're like, no. I was like, okay. Do you have children? They said yes. So I was like, so to you, your parents aren't having sex. So to your children, you're not having sex. Like, no, I'm having sex. So I was like, so why is it that your kids aren't having sex? Your parents are having sex, but you're the only one who's having sex. I was like, and this is where I was triggering people, man. I was like, when the door is closed, what do you think they're doing?
I
And they're
know,
like,
I know.
right? They're like, shut up, Terrain.
Yes.
I don't want to think about that. I was like, but how were you born? Are you saying that your parents only had sex twice in the 30 years that they were married?
You and your brother.
Right? Yeah, you and your brother. That was it. Right? They're two for two. They're batting 100%. Like,
100%, exactly. Yeah, yeah. And how can we empower something that we can't even speak about?
yeah, it's like they're afraid to know that someone other than them is having sex.
Yeah, yeah. And
No
you'd be
one else on the
surprised
world.
how many sex secrets couples keep from each other, like within the relationship.
Such as, what do you mean by that?
Like I have partner that come, like clients that come to me and they'll be like, I love my partner so much, but I need to fantasize about so and so in order to get ongoing. And I have partner who'll be like, do you know what? I love her so much, but she reminds me of a cow when I see her laying down. I've heard that, both of those examples, and a lot more that I don't even dare to disclose.
Wow. That goes back to the point about the body issue, right? Especially the cow, because I'm guessing that's not in a good way.
No,
And
I
then,
I, I was asking them because the case with this person is that they just got into getting someone else's pregnant and they need to tell their partner. And I'm like, but first of all, why did you go for someone else's? Oh, because when I'm with her, it looks like I'm with a cow. And that's one of those.
wow, to a point where why some people have sex with the lights off and underneath the blankets.
Yeah,
Because,
yeah, yeah. And then again, if you're not really connected to your full embodied authenticity, what does it mean about everything else? Do you really think that this is only in sex? Or sex is just a materialization of what is happening everywhere else's? Because it
mm,
just comes to a place where there is this social moral conduct in our brain that tells us what is acceptable. And anything that's not there, we start numbing because you're taught that to fit into academic world. We are taught this in order to keep a job and have money post-industrial revolution. So we're taught this and we bring that conditioning everywhere that nowhere is safe enough to be them. But here's the thing on the other side, you won't get to have those altered states of consciousness and this transcendental, outrageous, long, multi-orgasmic, energetical experiences of 40 plus hours sex by becoming a persona once you start it. It won't happen.
are you saying that some people become a character of themselves or
They,
caricature of themselves?
they are they are in everything they live and they're not even aware of it. I think that that's one of the beautiful things that Jim Carrey once brought to all of us, right? It's that Trump, I don't remember the name of the movie, like if you
Truman Show.
Truman Show. Yeah, that's like one of those things when we all realize that we have been in so much of conditioning. What is a belief? Belief is a thought you no longer question, and you no longer question because by conditioning yourself to it, you belong. And we all need to belong and be safe and loved in order to thrive. So you're trying and your body is super smart for it and learn to read the room and learn what is acceptable and what's not. And you just keep on that, right? You notice that everybody stopped laughing from the joke, even if it's still funny for you, you stopped laughing. You start conditioning your breath, the pressure on your chest, the pressure on your neck, the veins in your heart, everything that is still embodying their laughter that needs to be embodied, to discharge, to mobilize that energy. So you stopped it because are you retarded? Like you what? You just not fit in and laugh just what is acceptable? And then later on, you don't know why you have a headache. And that's just an example, right?
You've been playing the role so long that by the time you drop the character to be yourself, you're uncomfortable.
Yeah. Yeah. And one of the main things here, I don't even know if this you want to keep on this episode or not, because this is huge, but one of the main things here is very much about penetration itself. We are so dissociated and so disconnected, and so much on our body serves this conduct that if it needs to release gas, I hold my fart and my burp. If it needs to release tears, I hold my tears. And if it needs to sweat, I put on something so that the sweat doesn't come up on the way it does. And if I come to the bedroom and my body is saying, do not penetrate me now, I can't even listen to it because I have been so tuned out from it for so long. The dissonance is so big that I allow myself that invasion and I suffer the physical consequences of it. And it's so normalized that if I'm telling anyone that I'm having menstrual cramps, everyone will say, yeah, me too, this is normal. Bullshit, it's not. Menstruation does not hurt. And penetration should not happen if your body is saying no, even if you're feeling horny. That relationship with your own body is what's going to bring the best sex out there. And your partner has no way in the world by knowing, even if you are doing the face. It's you verbalizing that boundary because you're the only one living inside your body that can bring that power back to you. So a lot of sex is causing problems in the relationship because these bodies are resentful and wanting to be turned off and away from this experience because this experience wasn't authentic to what the body needed. But it was done from a brain perspective that I have to do this is my role, as you shared on the very beginning of an example. I'm just going to lay there and be on the position. You're literally communicating to your body, don't cry, don't sweat, don't burp, don't fart, don't do anything because I'm living here up eating my popcorn, looking at the ones in the arena, in this case, the body, and shouting what you should be doing. Faster, the lion is coming. Oh, this wasn't good enough. Next. And the gladiators here are really tired, are really struggling. There's no amount of coffee that can avoid that cancer coming because you need a really strong siren to reconnect to your body because you are so tuned out of it.
How does that happen, Iman, where a person reaches the point where their mind is saying, okay, let's have sex, but their body's telling them, no, not now, or I'm not ready?
Well, it doesn't really even reach that point. Perhaps this was the default mechanism from the very beginning. Because, you need to move as a 4 years old. And the kindergarten teacher said, be quiet to be a good student so that you belong. And maybe you already have thousands of times had this experience that someone told what you should be doing with your body instead of what you're doing. Be quiet, sit down, sit nicely, do this, do that. And your body is there at service of them. Smile because it's lunchtime and your grandmom is visiting and you don't feel like. So you start creating that dissonance, right? That disconnection from your truth and who you have to perform in order to belong. And there's that illusion that if I do this elsewhere, it's going to be okay. So if I don't cry now, but when I reach home, I cry, it's going to be enough. Actually, no. And probably when you go home, you will not either. And I mean, we have never had this level of obesity before in human, as far as I know. And that's one of those examples, because you're not eating from our body, you're eating from our brain. And that's a clear example, because you're penetrating your mouth with the food to satisfy your brain, but your brain is sitting there watching the gladiator and saying, never enough, because he's not experiencing that. So bring me more chips, bring me more food. I did not have enough. No, this gladiator died. Bring another one. I want a stronger lion. I need to be entertained, because I'm living, hovering above my body, not connected and embodied. And tell me, how the hell do you expect to have good sex if sex is about the full connection of your body and your brain and your heart? If you take one of those out of the game, sex is not fulfilling, because there's something out of it. And it's the same thing with your food. If you're eating from your brain, something is wrong with your digestion. And no wonder that as long as I remember, the highest index of cancer is colon, because it's like, oh shit is coming here and I cannot even release, because you have so much of conditions to how and when I should work. And apparently I'm a terrible organ, the ugliest of them all. And then you all walking around full of shit.
How can we reconnect then? The mind, body, and soul.
Reconnect your brain, your heart, and your genitals. Like, one of the tools that I work with is so simple, but you literally sit down and you breathe in into your genitals, turn yourself a little on, bring it down, bring it up to your heart, bring it to the brain, and keep on literally visualizing this energy. And if you're aphasic, you can't really visualize, keep on just, bringing that awareness that is going to your heart and going to your brain, and sitting with presence. Turn off your TikTok for 10 minutes, for freak's sake, and feel, stay in your body and bring the sensation, right? You may be doing this through yoga, through body weight, whatever it is, but if you're not doing this intentionally, it's not working, because even while you're there, you're thinking about what you need to buy for dinner or what you're going to do tomorrow morning. It's really about bringing that presence to observe and witness your body and be in the body. And even better, if you need help, look for a somatic practitioner, someone who works with embodiment, someone that works with the body.
I think sometimes, to your point, there could be distractions, right? And that prevents us from knowing. Like, I remember the work that I had to do. Was it easy? No. Was it hard? No. I just made a choice saying, this is what I want to do, because I want to enjoy life in different ways, and I want to make sure that the person I'm with enjoys it as well. I look back and I realize how much I didn't know, and I realize how arrogant it was. And I hear some stories where either a man or a woman will say that, well, I got mine. Okay. How does your partner feel about that?
Yeah.
That's the conversation, right? Like, would you go to your partner, hey, I got mine, you better go, I guess, go get yours. Okay, I'm gonna go get it with Johnny down the street. Oh no, you can't go to Johnny. I'm like, well, if you're not willing to enjoy it with me or work towards it, what are they going to be left with? And I think sometimes, to your point, people forget that it's a two-way street, and you have to be aware of what your partner needs as well. But you have to come from yourself first.
But you really need to have your manual guide. You need to know what your brakes and accelerators. I want to go back there and be like, for example, you learn yourself so well because it changes, right? So you need to keep updated, like keep on updating your version and learning the new instructions. So let's say for now, my break is when you turn off the lights, I feel slightly turned off. So it's a slow break, right? So because I feel that you don't want to see me. And then what's the next break that is a little harder break? For example, right? This is hypothetical here. Let's say the next break is when you don't kiss me enough, or you don't look at me in the eyes for long enough. That's like a stronger break. And then a hardcore break, for example, is when you do something without my consent, for example. And my accelerator, let's say my accelerator is when you stop whatever you're doing just because I told you I'm horny, for example. Or my accelerator is when you wear that specific clothes, no, a specific outfit. Whoa, that's an accelerator for me. And what's a big accelerator? Oh, a big accelerator is when you let me put the tongue in that place. Okay, so now you know each other's braking accelerators, right? This is literally you giving the guide to each other. So you know when to upper regulate. Oh, point of no return. I want a little break. Okay, let's do a little break. Okay, now there's too many breaks. So you're going nowhere. Someone has to speed up here. So you learn that. Why? Because if you're learning like you're going Ferrari style 0 to 300 in 10 seconds and the other one hasn't even left, you're going to reach the final line all by yourself. And if that's okay every time, no wonder nobody wants to race with you.
That's a good point, right? Like you want to make sure that you're not so far ahead by the time you finish, the person's like, did it start?
Yes, exactly. 3 seconds you spoke about.
3 seconds. There you go. So let me ask you one final question about before I let you go. You mentioned the manual when it comes to sex from that person, the partner. What are three things you wish people knew about that manual when it comes to sex and understanding brakes and accelerators?
Really know yourself. Nobody else is in the world has a crystal ball that knows you. And you cannot know you once for all. You know yourself a little bit now, but then next week or next month or next year, you are a different person. You are in a continuum. You are constantly changing. So that relationship of knowing yourself keeps on going. So never stop this intimate relationship with yourself. And when it comes to sex, please, if I can leave the audience with one advice is don't rely on the fulfillment of your sexual pleasure to be only on your partner's hand. Be a great lover to yourself, self-pleasure, and normalize that. You are not a teenager walking in the bathroom, right? Come to your partner and be like, hey, like, let's say you guys are working from home and you are in each other's face all the time, and be like, listen, Thursday afternoon when the kids are at karate, the bathtub is mine. Don't knock at the door and do your thing. Connect yourself, learn your new brakes, learn your new accelerators, and don't just go there and bring a screen and then detach from yourself and let someone else tell you what to do. Do it with yourself. Connect to which oils, which smells, what do I like to look at? Do I like to be looking at the garden? Do I like to be looking at my own feet? Do I like to be touched with a hard pressure, or with I prefer soft touches? Do I enjoy massage, or do I think massage is aftercare? Connect with yourself so that you can walk outside of the of the bathroom, and be like, darling, I found new brakes, new accelerators. Let me inform you. And you have sex from that place of you're bringing from a full cup. And you're like, oh my God, I need to get in the ride on my Ferrari because I found a new route. Whoa, you gotta try this. That place, right? That place of curiosity, of exploration, of self-awareness, of fun. And that is what brings that polarization back, because you are fully embodied. You're doing it from your heart of self-love, from your brain of a little scientist curious for your own body, and from your genitals that are so turned on by this new thing you just experienced. And now imagine if both of you guys are doing this together and you are not in the responsibility of fulfilling this for each other, like, oh, I have to finish with them first so that I can release, so that I can fall asleep. But rather, you are bringing fun and presence back to that.